So the NFL owners approved modified overtime rule, ensuring possession for both teams in playoff games. Wow. Okay. Let's see. So there are these are new rules for NFL overtime in the playoffs. League owners approved a modified overtime rule that ensures both teams get a possession. Blah blah blah. The score is tied after each team's first possession. Sudden death ensues. This rule change will be in effect for postseason games only. The proposal was brought forth by the Colts and the Eagles, and NFL will have more on this story shortly. Okay, wow, okay. So, listen, okay, my first reaction, I mean, this just happened like 10 minutes ago. Um, I don't, why is this only postseason only? I guess I will give them credit. I think this is something that's needed to be addressed for a very long time, especially when your favorite team is on the other side of the ball when it comes to overtime games and you don't get the ball first and the other team scores a touchdown. You get no chance, and it hurts regardless if you're in the playoffs or if it's regular season. But could you imagine being a fan of your favorite team and you're in the AFC Championship or the NFC Championship game or shit, even the Super Bowl, and because of a coin toss being heads or tails and the other team doing what they get paid to do, which is score, you don't even have a chance to like defend. It's like going to court and like having prosecutors, bring all this evidence against you, and then it's your turn, and you don't have your defensive attorney or you don't have your lawyer with you, So like you don't even have a chance to like defend yourself. And so, yeah, I mean, I think this is really good for postseason. I think that it will make things more interesting. I think that the aspect of having sudden death makes it very cool. Because over time now, it's as a fan, and I don't know, as a fan, it almost seems as if overtime is super fast. Most of the overtime games end up being heads or tails, heads, you win the toss. Okay, and it's just like, okay, so you win a coin toss. Who's gonna say defer? No one's gonna defer. Like I have to do like more research on it, but I don't think I've ever seen a team defer in overtime. I don't know why you would, unless you have some crazy strategy. Like I don't know where that would be useful. So it's like, okay, like if I'm watching a game and let's say it's team A and team B, coin gets tossed, and Team A wins, and they say, "We'll receive," and Team B says, "Okay, we'll be on this side." Okay, well, I might as well just go ahead and turn it on to the 4:05 game, or the afternoon game because Team A is going to win. Unless it's like a really good team versus like a not so good team, then maybe it changes, but you see what I'm saying, right? I mean, I think it definitely gives a more of a like, okay, if Team A goes down and scores a touchdown, okay, they did what they're supposed to do. Good. Let's see how good Team B is. If Team B can, create a drive after the other team scored a touchdown, and they can go down and score a touchdown back to back, then yeah, I mean, I think it shows that that team is competitive and that that team is deserving to have another chance. And so the fact that it's like sudden death is cool. It's like, okay, it just becomes at this point like you're just playing Madden. Which team's gonna score the most points? You score a touchdown, we score a touchdown. Oh, y'all want to go score a touchdown? We're gonna score a touchdown. Oh, you want to bust out for an 85-yard touchdown? We're gonna bust one out too. And it's just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And like, let's see, which team has the most stamina, which team has the better skill players, and honestly, which team has better coaching. Because if it gets and I'm sure we're going to see this in the upcoming season, if it gets to a point where both teams, like, and when it comes down to sudden death, and both teams are going back and forth, and it's like, okay, they score a touchdown, touchdown. It probably won't happen a lot, but it's going to happen, especially if you have two powerhouse teams. I mean, like if you have if you have the Rams playing, the Chiefs, or something, just two high caliber, offensive powerhouses. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens when it's like, okay, I'll throw this deep dime to my best receiver, and then other team says, okay, yeah, I'll throw a dime to my best receiver, and we'll see what happens. So, in terms of the playoffs, I get it. I think it's great. I think it's definitely going to make things more interesting, especially like I said, for teams that you are personally a fan of. That's like if you're watching this video, your favorite team, whether it's the Bengals, Panthers, Dolphins, Jets, Jags, Texans. I don't know. I like how I just named off teams that aren't really that great. And but yeah, but here's the thing though, is that in terms of regular season, I just think it's kind of skewed because you're gonna have overtime games in regular season, right? And so it becomes a thing where if you're having regular games that are in overtime being ended because one team flipped the coin and got the right coin toss and they chose to receive and they score a touchdown, the other team that gets the loss, that could impact their playoff, especially when um, this past season it was the NFC. Remember this past season, the NFC was actually like I don't want to say bad. I mean mediocre, I guess, but there were so many teams in the NFC that were like one game away from like the records overall. Like everybody was so close, and so like if you're in an overtime game and you lose because you didn't even have a chance to get the ball, I mean, that's going to throw things off. So, like, I don't really think that we're getting an accurate picture. I think what would be really, really cool is if this rule was implemented into the regular season. That way, what would happen is that when you get to the postseason and there is overtime games in the postseason, if either of those teams had played any overtime games in the regular season, that would make things more interesting, especially for like the announcers and for like analytics and stats, because they would go back and say, "Hey, Team A, when they played, so and so team in Week 7 in overtime, they won. Like it was, they were the better team. They had the better stamina. They had the better skill set players, like whatever. But like I just think you're not getting a good enough sample if you're only allowing this in the playoffs. It's almost like you're at a disadvantage to have this rule when you're in the regular season because if you do lose the game, if you're a fan of a team that loses the game because other teams scored a touchdown and your team didn't even get a chance to win, you just go from being in second place in your division to possibly fourth place, right? And then it's like, okay, and then you're sitting at the end of the season and you're like, okay, we missed the playoffs by two games, two games, but we had three overtime games that we didn't, that or we had two overtime games that we lost this season that we didn't ever get the ball. So if we would have played those games and we would have won those two games, we would be in the playoffs and not this other team. And then that would change everything potentially, especially if it's a team that's really, really good but got unlucky. Like maybe they're a team that's 11 or a team that's 10-7. You know, 10-7 that they had seven losses, but maybe three of them, like they had two overtime losses and they had one where they lost by a field goal. You know, like that could easily be three wins, and then that team's all of a sudden 13-4. I think that 13-4 team would have a better time in the playoffs versus a team that gets in that's uh, 9-8. It's just small things like that. So this is going to be very interesting to see how this unfolds. Again, this just came out. This is looking right now at the official NFL website where the NFL Network has just released. There will probably be a lot of discussion about this. I'm sure people are really busy right now uploading this to YouTube, getting their thoughts and opinions out there. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think this is a good idea? Do you guys think that this is fair for it to just be playoffs, or do you think that this should be implemented into the regular season? Go ahead and comment below. I'm very, very interested, especially since this is brand new. This just got announced relatively a few minutes ago. So definitely go ahead and put down your comments below and let us know what you think. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. And whoever your favorite team is in the NFL, wish you the best of luck moving forward as we go through the rest of the off season and hopefully get to August as fast as possible. But other than that, y'all take care. Deuce.